Mr. Bounfrey, in fairness to you, I think I need to preface this by saying you've had no notice of this, but we have had a response over lunch from Inevitable UK, who's sold the smoke grenades. It's not in a final statement form, but of course we will put that out, which said, first of all, that there was an age warning on the smoke grenade items since 2020. So I think that is one piece of information. But the other is that when they were asked how did they ensure that smoke grenades were not sold to those under 18, the response was, we assumed that the buyer was over 18 due to having been able to use an account on amazon.co.uk. You have to be 18 years or older to open an Amazon account. Parents can set up child accounts which are added to their own account. However, they then bear responsibility for the account. I think I've covered this issue with you already, but it might be suggested that that again points towards the requirement for some kind of test or hurdle to jump in terms of providing age when one opens an account. Would you agree?
That is further, yes, that is further basis to raise that question.
Can I move on, please? So still in the topic of age-verified deliveries and just covering the training of drivers. Does it concern you that Mr. Raleigh could have come through both Amazon Flex training and DSP or Condor Carriers training and still be unfamiliar with the labels on the packaging?
That was surprising, and yes, it would be concerning.
We heard that Condor Carriers instructed drivers to always ask for an ID, without wanting to criticise them for putting a higher standard, perhaps, than the Challenge 25 type process Amazon was using. Do you agree that it might be confusing for a driver to be given more than one different set of instructions?
Absolutely, yes.
And are there mechanisms whereby Amazon can make sure that consistent advice is given to drivers?
Well, I think Amazon gives consistent advice to all the delivery service providers. The delivery service providers are then free to choose to add additional restrictions or processes on top of what has been recommended by Amazon.
Is there a risk of using the use of delivery service providers and contractors complicates this process at all?
I don't believe so. Although maybe if you're suggesting that two sets of instructions happen because the Amazon instruction and the DSP one, which appear to contradict each other, then in that particular case it would be confusing.
Could we have up, please, Mr. Pass of Condor Carrier's statement, which is COND 4033 and page 8. Thank you. Mr. Pass says at paragraph 32, more recently Amazon have reduced classroom training to 1 day, delivered virtually by a third party with 2 days of ride-along. At the same time, the ride-along routes now carry higher parcel and stock counts. I and other DSP owners have raised concerns that this reduces the quality of training. My recommendation is that Amazon reduce the load on ride-along training routes to allow instructors and trainees to complete the process at a slower pace, thereby giving the trainee a better learning experience, enabling thorough absorption of information. Just before I ask you about the ride-along, the classroom training's been halved in length, is that right?
So I read Mr. Charles Pass's witness statement and followed up with the team. What they explained to me was that previously there were 2 days of Amazon training. That is now 1 day, and in addition to that, the delivery service providers are required to provide additional safety training. So the total amount of training, I believe, is similar that drivers receive. The question is around how that is delivered. To be clear, though, all the age verification upon delivery training all happens within the Amazon section. So that itself hasn't been reduced.
Thank you. And in terms of the issue raised about the ride-along training, is that something you're aware of?
Again, I asked the question around this, and One thing that I would want to do is make sure that the delivery service providers understood the background to why this had changed. But it is something that I am aware of and I'm in discussion with our respective teams regarding.
Should drivers have refresher training?
Drivers have the ability, DSPs have the ability to assign refresher training to their drivers or to drivers at any stage.
Can Amazon mandate that?
I believe I don't know whether Amazon can mandate that. I believe the DSP could choose to do that.
Moving on, please, to the police investigation. So we've covered the delivery now, and I'm moving to the aftermath. Could we have your third statement up, please, which is AMA 30110? And page 3, please, paragraph 5.1. So you have addressed there DCI Pi's evidence about communications between Merseyside Police and Amazon in the aftermath of the attack. And I think we've had a letter from Merseyside Police this morning. If we just go to the bottom of that page, please. You've quoted the transcript, and then you said that the question appears to be about online age verification, whereas the request made by the Merseyside Police was about age-verified delivery. And going over the page, I think Amazon didn't receive a request about the OAV process. Have I summarised that correctly?
Yes, you have.
Thank you. Could we have AMA 4070, please? Thank you. So we have, I think, the request that was made, law enforcement, and we can see the name of the Merseyside police officer at the top of that page. Could we have page 3, please? Thank you. Sorry, could we just go one page on? So I think we see in the bottom right-hand corner the date of that is the 13th of December 2024. Back a page, please. So we see in the middle of the page relevance of data requested and purpose. We see Operation Greenbank, investigation into the murder of 3 children in Southport and attempted murder of further children and adults. The police officer then provided you with details of the attack, named AR and named the order number, and said this, and named the tracking number and emails as well. The data is necessary to investigate how the suspect was able to buy the murder weapon from internet shopping when aged 17, despite the product being age restricted to 18 plus. Please provide details of how the delivery was signed for and by whom, how the age verification needed for delivery was satisfied, and copy of any documentation, photographs taken for delivery, ID and signatures for the delivery. So I think those are the questions that you're referring to, which are framed in the context of delivery. Is that right?
That's right.
That's the information that Amazon provided. But would you agree that a fuller answer might have gone simply beyond providing the delivery details and recognised with that context that the online age verification information would have assisted the police investigation?
A fuller reading of that would absolutely have suggested that, yes.
And I think you accept in your statement that this should have been escalated within Amazon.
That's right. This particular, despite the details provided in here, this information was not provided to the relevant UK teams in December last year.
So I think it was processed in a large, I'm going to call it a data center, that's probably the wrong terminology, but in America, a large team in America.
That's right. We have a single team that oversees all global requests for law enforcement, and it was that team that processed this and indeed the other requests that came in.
The name of Mr. Ali was not provided, or we can see it's not requested here, I don't think. But instead, Merseyside Police were moved on to Condor Carriers, who said that they didn't have detail of the delivery driver. Is that right?
I assume that's correct, the latter part. The first part, I believe, is correct. Historically, in all requests relating to delivery drivers, we would direct law enforcement typically to the delivery service provider. In light of what's happened here, we've reviewed that guidance, and where it would be more useful for us to provide the delivery driver's name, we will do that directly going forward.
Thank you. Just want to look at AR's Amazon use in the rounds now, and then we'll come on to changes that have been made since. We've dealt with some particular orders, the rice and seeds, the smoke grenades, the knives. Could we just have MERP 30865? And could we scroll through this, but just to page 8, please don't pull up page 9. These are screenshots of completed purchases by AR. So I think the Merseyside Police investigation took the orders and I think will have gone on to Amazon and tried to find matching purchases. Do you see that? I mean, we know already what the items are, and if we could just stop there, that there is a sledgehammer. In addition, we know that there was a bow and arrow purchased and also items that could have been used to make a petrol bomb. None of those other items needed age verification, correct?
That's my understanding, yes.
Looking back on this now, in conjunction with the browsing history, do you agree that it's a concerning picture?
With hindsight, yes.
Yeah. And we've also covered that some of AR's activity as a buyer was perhaps unusual. Would you agree with that in terms of his cancelled orders, using various different names and addresses, using what appeared to be a false name and that it had no connection with any of other details provided?
I don't know how unusual all those things are. I do know that it is common to cancel orders. I know that we don't look at account name in particular. People can have the account name call whatever they want. So with hindsight, when you look at the purchase history and some of that behaviour, it does suggest a pattern, but individually, I'm not sure that that behaviour in and of itself is suspicious.
Yes, I think you have the point. So we questioned a number of smaller retailers about things that might have aroused their suspicion when dealing with purchasers. For example, training they give to their staff to spot suspicious inquiries, false identifications, and transactions as well. The number of transactions that those smaller retailers were doing, I assume, are multiple factors lower than those for Amazon. And I can see that makes it harder for a human to be able to join the dots on these things. But isn't it therefore incumbent on Amazon to look at some other way to identify issues with purchasing, issues with purchasers' behaviour, to see if there are concerning patterns?
Well, as a retailer, I'm not sure how we would go about identifying what those concerning patterns would be, and that's why we would work closely with law enforcement and/or government. And if there were to be published guidance around those types of suspicious patterns, of course we would always comply with the law and the regulations. But yeah.
But Mr. Bounfrey, you've said, I think, that Amazon has automated technology to look at listings and things like that. Isn't it Amazon that has the expertise in how to review the matters that it's selling, not law enforcement?
In terms of the items that we sell, I think that's fair. So I think that the way we would think about that is for items that require age restriction, our focus would be on making sure that that age restriction is as robust as possible.
Shouldn't you also be looking at items which don't require age restriction, but if used in the wrong hands, like a sledgehammer, could be weapons?
I think it would be very difficult for a retailer to define what those items might be, given the other common items like sporting goods, like a cricket bat or a hockey stick, or any of those items may meet a similar definition.
Is this something that Amazon is looking at or considering?
It would be something that we would be very happy to discuss with Home Office, with law enforcement, and if there was specific guidance around that, of course we would follow that.
Can I ask you now, please, about changes that have been made? So I promised I would ask you about the changes to the online age verification. Is this right that now someone has to do online age verification for every online age verified purchase they make?
That's correct.
Thank you. That the online age verification is made for the card holder that makes the purchase?
That's correct.
Yeah. And if that card holder is verified, then the bank will give the card holder a passcode to a mobile device to verify that it is them making the purchase.
That's correct.
That came in, I think, in September 2025. Was it in response to this inquiry?
It was, yes.
Might it have been, would Amazon have had reason to bring that in at an earlier stage, do you think?
I don't believe so.
And why is that?
The first instance that we were aware of a minor being able to circumvent online age verification in the manner that AR did was in January this year.
That was AR, was it?
It was following, yes, that's correct.
Yeah. But this inquiry arises out of a criminal attack. There were no mechanisms to proactively identify that before this happened.
Proactively identify what?
Proactively identify whether children were bypassing the online age verification as it stood last year.
That wasn't something that had been raised to us.
If the current system that is in place now had been in place in 2024, would it have stopped AR?
I believe it would, yes.
I think we've covered probably a lot of the other changes in terms of the bolstering of the training for drivers on age-verified delivery. You're looking at the labelling, and we looked at the compliance levels of the AVD, age-verified delivery too. Can I ask you just some wider questions? You've created a storefront for blunt-end knives, is that
That's right?
And that was following contact with Miss Lucas and the Let's Be Blunt campaign.
That's right.
The crime and policing bill is obviously being considered now. Is it right that you worked with the Home Office on proposed measures?
It is, as we would in any legislation.
And what is your view of the measures in the bill as drafted?
Broadly, we are very supportive of the direction of that bill, and of course we will comply with whatever legislation is put in place. If I might highlight one particular provision, that the person who purchases a bladed product be the same as the person who receives the delivery. I believe there are three practical considerations to bear in mind. The first is that currently 1 in 10 deliveries of bladed products are to an address that is different to the account address. Typically that would be to work, so that an item would be delivered to a reception or a mail room because an individual is not at home during the day. Indeed, that case would also cover gifts. The second reason would be that today the person who receives an item is an adult, but often not the same adult who purchased the good. That might be because it's a partner who's at home, or it might be because an item has been delivered to the reception or to a block of flats and there's someone there to receive the parcels. I think the third consideration is around delivery drivers. If you bring in measures that suggest that the person who purchases has to be the same as the person who receives the good, that would require you to get some form of ID from all recipients. We have experience of running that particular system, which we ran from 2019 to 2021, where irrespective of how old someone looked, we asked them for their ID. Customers had a couple of concerns. The first was around privacy. They didn't understand why someone who was 40, 50, 60 plus would need to provide a delivery driver with a government ID. So there's a privacy concern. The second is frustration. Customers are not used to handing over ID if they're visibly over 25 when they go and buy a similar product in a store, and they don't understand why they have to do that for online delivery. Unfortunately, we saw a higher level of driver assaults for age-verified deliveries when we ran that process, and that reduced, I think, 4 times when we moved to the Challenge 25 Plus model in 2021.
Thank you. Some of the retailers that we spoke to talk about the idea that it would be useful to have an industry-wide database of, for example, purchases of concern. Is that something that Amazon has considered?
I don't believe it's something we've considered, but when it comes to industry cooperation, we would be willing to consider any proposals.
Thank you. And finally we have seen evidence that eBay prohibits the sale of all knives. I appreciate it's a very different marketplace to Amazon. Is that right context that you would want to give?
I have seen some of that. In my own research for bill hooks, I observed that some of those items were available, actually, on eBay.
Thank you. That Mr. Ashworth of Every said that Every doesn't do age-verified delivery and did question whether knives should be sold online at all. And we've obviously raised various issues that can crop up. With the changes that are to be made and the impact of the crime and policing bill, is it your view that it is still appropriate to sell knives online?
I believe it is, yes. There are many customers who really appreciate the convenience of being able to shop online, customers who may have a physical disability, for example, and our ability to offer legal products and have them delivered safely in accordance with the law is something we take extremely seriously, and I believe there is a strong case for continuing to enable citizens to be able to purchase on Amazon.
Thank you. Is there anything else you want to add?
Not from my side, thank you.
Thank you. I'll just look to see if there are any further questions. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, Mr. Bountfree. I ask questions on behalf of the families of the other child victims. You've been asked about the fact a child was able to browse the range of items that Mr. Boyle showed to you earlier. You've also been asked about your terms and conditions about children's access to Amazon. I just have a couple of additional questions for you on that topic, please. Is it right that a minor cannot be the main account holder of an Amazon account?
I believe that's correct.
And AR was, of course, the main account holder of his account, wasn't he?
I believe so.
And you've given evidence that there's no requirement on account creation to supply a date of birth or to verify the age of the user. Is it fair that there's no way of knowing how many children may be the main account holder for an Amazon account and be using those accounts to browse items or to make purchases?
That would be fair.
How feasible would it be to proactively identify accounts where the main account holder is a child, and if necessary, close those accounts?
I think it would be very difficult to do that proactively. I think I'm not sure what signals or data you would look at. As I said in evidence earlier, when we're notified of accounts having been opened by minors without the supervision of a parent or guardian, we will take action to close them.
Thank you, Mr. Bountfree. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much indeed. Mr. Bountfree, thank you very much indeed for your evidence. and for attending this afternoon. You're now free to go.
Thank you.
So the next witness is PC McNamee. We need to do a sort of...
How close to us is Mr. McNamee?
Mr. McNamee might be close, but Mr. Goss, who's asking the questions,
May not be.
further.
Shall I rise for 5 minutes?
Please, thank you.
Remain standing, Mr. McNamee. You'll have to take the oath.
I do solemnly, sincerely and truly declare and affirm that the evidence I shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth.
Please have a seat. Yes, Mr. Goss.
Thank you, sir. May it please the court. Could you give us your full name, please?
PC Alex McNamee.
Just keep your voice up a little bit, PC McNamee, so that everyone can hear you. Could we have Lank 000269, please? Is that your witness statement for the inquiry?
It is.
And if we could look to page 19. Please. Thank you. Can see that beneath the redaction you signed that on the 30th of July this year.
Yep.
Are the contents of that statement true to the best of your knowledge and belief?
They are.
And if we could also have Lank 4020, please. That's a witness statement that you gave to Merseyside Police in the course of their criminal investigation.
It is.
That also signed beneath a statement of truth.
Yeah.
Can we just get a little bit out from you about your background, please? You've been a police officer since February 2018, when you were in your mid-20s.
That's it, yeah.
It follows then that in October 2019, you were around 18 months into your service as a police officer.
Yeah, that's right.
And you've been a response officer throughout your career with a secondment to a unit working on intelligence targeting county lines, gangs and drug dealers.
Yeah, that's true.
Was that secondment after you finished your probation?
Yes.
So it took place after the events that we're dealing with here in late 2019?
Yes.
In terms of the role of a response officer, you've described it in your witness statement at paragraph 4 as responding to emergency and priority incidents as they're reported. Is there anything you'd want to add to that about a response officer's role?
No.
By this point that we're dealing with in 2019, how much experience have you had of working with children?
A moderate amount. We have calls most sets or weeks involving children.
Again, if you just keep your voice up a little bit, PC McNamee, it's a large room and it gets lost a little. In the course of that work that, as you say, you got calls on from time to time, had that involved you dealing with children with special educational needs or autism spectrum disorders?
Yes.
Were those topics that were covered in your initial training as a police officer?
Yes, they were covered.
You weren't alone when you deployed to the incident that we're going to come to in October 2019. You were with PC Wood. Can you help us at all with PC Wood's level of experience, length of service in 2019?
I think PC Wood's probably got a few more years than me. Maybe, perhaps at that time, maybe 4 or 5. At that time, he was a student development officer, so he developed people in probation.
And you were still in your probationary period?
Yes.
Can we turn then to October 2019? And I think on the 7th of October, you were on a late shift, crewing a marked police car with PC Wood, which had the call sign SB Car 1L.
Yes.
I think that breaks down as, is that Skelmersdale Car 1 Lates?
Yeah, so the S is for South Division, B is for Skelmersdale, and Car 1 Lates.
And if we could have up, please, Lank 4065. At 1938, on the 7th of October, there was a call into the Lancashire Force Control Room from the National Crime Agency reporting information that the NCA had in turn received from Childline. You wouldn't have been on that call, but you became aware of it subsequently.
Yes.
And we've got the transcript of that call here, and it refers to a threat to life from Childline. It's a young person. He's saying that they're repeatedly bullied at school, and they've taken a knife into school before and will use it if that person gets really annoyed with them. When they see that person, they want to kill them and become more angry when he gets pushed around by that person.
Yes.
And that telephone call leads to the creation of log, I think it's 1383 of 7th of October. We'll look at that in a moment. For good measure, the NCA also send in an email. Does that contain essentially the same information as is conveyed in the call?
I believe so, yeah.
I think that briefly led to the creation of a further log that was then closed as a duplicate.
That's it, yeah.
Would you either have seen the email or heard the telephone call when, in the course of your dealings with this incident?
No, I didn't see either.
Can we look then to the log, 1383, it's Lanc 4041. And if we could go please to page 4. And if the section at the bottom marked ISR or below ISR comments can just be made bigger. Thank you. So we can see it's opened at 1942, so a few minutes after that initial call, and it sets out the information that is in that call.
Yes.
It talks about person has taken a knife into school before and will use it. Child has said they want to kill the person who is bullying them. You see that there.
Yes.
And if we could go to the next page, please. And again, if we can make the top third of that page. Thank you. What we can see at 1954 is it looks as though there are some checks carried out. The address of 10 Old School Close has been identified. But the only person who that's linked to is someone we now know to be AR's mother.
I think that was from the subscriber check on the IP address rather than at the house. You
didn't, therefore, when you were assigned this log, as a result of any information on Lancashire Constabulary systems, know that you were going to deal with AR himself, did you?
No.
We don't need to go to it, but I think your police statement from 2024 suggests you may have known it was AR already. That's not right. All you knew was an address and the name of the subscriber.
Yeah, that's correct.
I think you were dispatched at 8:30 p.m. to this call?
Yeah.
Can we look at Lanc 000411? This is the radio transcript of you being dispatched. Are you clear for a grade inaudible concern over in banks? Yes, yes. Thanks, I'll attach you to it. We've had a call from NCA, it's had a referral from Childline, young person saying they've been bullied. They're going to take things further in school with a knife to said bully. They say they'll attach you to the log. Would that give you access to the contents of the log?
Yes, via our PDA.
Would you have looked at the log as well as relying on what the operator said to you on the call?
Yeah, I imagine we did, yeah.
Can we go back then to the log Lanc 4041? And if we could go to page 4. And the entry at 1944-27, which we've looked at before, just at the bottom of that page. So again, person has taken a knife into school before and will use it. Child has said they want to kill the person who is bullying them. So you'd have been aware that that was the context of the call you were going to?
Yes.
I've been asked to explore with you one further line on this log in particular. Can we go to the next page, please, and look at the entry at 1947-55? There's an entry there that says, please make supervision aware. Child has said this. May be attending school tomorrow with intention of killing the bully with use of a knife. And that's put on by the person who is creating the log in the first place, isn't it?
Yes.
We've looked already at the call from the NCA. The suggestion that there's an intention of attending school tomorrow in order to kill the bully with use of a knife, that doesn't appear in that call, does it?
No.
It also doesn't appear, and we can call it up if need be, in the email that the NCA sent in.
I'm not sure. I've not seen the email.
Can we have a quick look at that then? It's Lank 30144. And it's the 5-line central paragraph is the key bit for these purposes. And it repeats the same quotes that we've seen on the log, doesn't it?
Yes.
It doesn't talk about tomorrow being a particular day where there's a particular intention to do anything.
No.
Do you think, given that reference to tomorrow doesn't appear in the transcript or in the email from the NCA, do you think that's information that came into the force control room, or do you think that is a comment by the force control room about when this needs to be dealt with because of the possible risk?
I think it's a comment from the control room due to the risk. They would have, I'm not sure what day we attended, but it was a weekday and he was expected to be in school the next day.
Yeah. In other words, we can't leave this till tomorrow lunchtime because there is a risk that
Yes.
something might happen tomorrow morning.
Yes.
But setting aside questions of tomorrow, when you were tasked to deal with this, based on the log, you were aware of the potential that the child in question was intending to use the knife to seriously injure or kill someone, potentially in the near future.
Yes.
When you were tasked to deal with that, were you treating that as a potential criminal offence or as a child safety issue?
I think it was a mixture of both.
Whose decision would that be about which way to go on this?
Probably, we initially have the discretion, but we'd discuss it with our supervision if we felt like we needed to do more.
And at the point that you were tasked with this, 8:30 that night, we've established you didn't know that you were dealing with AR. You presumably didn't know his age.
No, we didn't know anything about him.
You didn't know which school he was going to.
No.
You couldn't therefore try and speak to the school, admittedly it'd be out of hours, but you couldn't even try to speak to the school and find out about alleged bullying, for example.
No.
Can we turn then to arrival at the address? You arrived at about 9:05 that evening.
Yeah.
And you were allowed into the property by AR's mother.
Yeah.
Parents are going to be an important source of information when you're responding to a call like this, aren't they?
Yes.
Tell us about the initial conversation you had with AR's mother. What did you say to her about why you were there?
I can't remember specifics, but I think she already knew why we were there. She almost immediately called AR down and we went into the living room. There wasn't a prior conversation before speaking with AR.
Again, sorry, could you just keep your voice up a little bit, PC McNamee? Thank you. So when you arrived and you told her that you were attending in response to this report of a knife being carried at school, she was able very quickly to say that will be relating to AR.
Yes.
Did you find out how she'd become aware of this, why this wasn't a surprise to her?
I don't remember.
Did you ask about whether she'd told anybody else about it?
I don't remember.
Do you know how long she'd been aware of it?
I don't remember.
At some point in your discussion, and it may have been at this stage or it may have been slightly later on, did she tell you that knives had been locked away in the house?
She said as a result of her realising a knife had gone missing, she'd got the knife off AR and then she'd locked them away.
And did you reinforce that as a step to take?
Yeah, I think between PC Wood and I we did, yeah.
Did you see knives locked away, or was that just what you were told and you were reliant on what a parent had told you?
I can't remember exactly how it went, but I think it was PC Wood that went into the kitchen, but I can't remember exactly.
Were you told by AR's mother about any mental health assessment or any mental health challenges that AR had?
She mentioned he was suspected of potentially having autism.
And did you know about any engagement that was going on with mental health services? Were you told about that?
No.
Did you ask any questions about that?
Yeah, I think we did. I think it was a case of he was looking to be assessed for it rather than currently under assessment.
Was all of this conversation prior to AR coming downstairs? Or so at some point he was called to come down?
He was called down almost immediately.
Almost immediately, thank you. And I think at some point AR's father also joined you.
He did, yeah.
What did you make of the attitude of AR's parents towards the fact that their son had been carrying a knife?
I think they were concerned by it. They seemed to engage with us quite well and wanted that behaviour to stop.
Did you detect any difference of opinion between AR's mother and AR's father at all?
I don't remember it. We spoke to the mum primarily. I think his dad came back at some point during the conversation.
I see. We can see from the log, and you deal with this at paragraph 11 of your witness statement, that you carried out PNC and Connect checks on AR at 9:10.
Yes.
So presumably at that point you've obviously got his details and you've got something that you can then run through police systems.
Yes.
And I think he was no trace on either system.
That's the case, yeah.
And you discussed with him what he had said to Childline. And he accepted taking a knife into school.
He did.
He was initially flippant and dismissive about it. Is that right?
Yes.
He said he'd done it about 10 times.
Yes.
He said that was because he was being bullied by a named pupil.
Yes.
Forgive me to just go back. PNC we've heard about already. Connect, is that a Lancashire Constabulary information system?
Yeah, it's the local system that we keep for things like referrals and other things that don't get sent to PNC.
So PNC is a national system, as in the name.
Yeah.
Connect covers Lancashire-only data.
Yes.
Thank you. You asked AR in your conversation with him about the referral that you'd received, what he'd do with the knife. He said he believed he'd use it when he got angry at the bullying.
Yes.
Do you recall him saying that he was pretty certain he would use it?
I think that's what I wrote down, yeah.
That's what you enter on the log at about 10:15 that night.
That's PC Wood, yeah.
So it wasn't just a case of him carrying a knife in misguided self-defense. He was carrying a knife because he was intending to hurt somebody with it.
Yes.
Would it be fair to characterise this as a boy in their early teens who had both the means and intention to carry out a murder?
Yes.
Were you thinking about it in those terms at the time?
I think that was certainly one of the considerations, yeah.
Given what he'd admitted to, given that one of your considerations was that this was potentially somebody with minded on carrying out a killing, a murder, did you think about cautioning him at any point in this conversation?
No.
Why not?
I think we wanted to speak to him sort of more informally to get as much as we could out of him.
By the end of that conversation, he'd admitted to committing a dangerous criminal offence, carrying a knife on school premises on multiple occasions.
Yes.
Did you think about arresting him?
Yes.
You didn't arrest him, though.
No.
Why not?
We felt that because of his age and his vulnerabilities with potential learning difficulties and the fact that we could put other preventative measures in place, that we could deal with it other ways.
We'll come to those other ways in a moment, PC McNamee. Just asking about some of the perceptions that you had of him from this discussion, this conversation with him. You set some of these out at paragraph 13 of your witness statement. You perceived him as being frustrated by the bullying and also by what he felt was the school's failure to deal with the bullying.
Yes.
Did you explore at all the issue of whether he was actually being bullied with him, or was it sort of taken as he said he was, and therefore that was the basis you worked on?
Yeah, we worked on the basis that he felt like he was being bullied, so if that's his perception, that's how he was reacting.
Did his parents express any view about the bullying at all?
Yeah, they agreed and said that he was being bullied in the schools and dealing with it.
Did he express anything to you about the fact that Childline had, I should say entirely properly, breached confidentiality of any communications he had with them?
I don't remember him mentioning that, no.
You didn't think he fully understood the consequences of what he was proposing to do?
I don't think he fully understood, no.
Is that the consequences for himself or the consequences for others?
Both.
One thing you say in your statement, again paragraph 13, is that he appeared fixated. What was it he appeared fixated on?
Being bullied and it not being dealt with.
But as a result of the conversation that you had with him, is it right that you thought he at least appeared to recant from his position somewhat?
Somewhat, yeah.
I think recanted somewhat is the language you used in 2024 when you gave a statement to Merseyside Police. Why do you say only somewhat?
Well, he became tearful, but he still had this feeling that he was being bullied and he was a victim of that injustice at school.
Did you think he was still likely to want to take a knife into school?
I felt that the immediate risk had been lowered by our actions. Longer term, it's difficult to say.
Did you think at all at the time about whether this was genuine remorse, genuine recantation?
He became tearful, yeah. I felt like he did. He didn't want to take a knife in, or he said he didn't want to take a knife in again.
And I think you and PC Wood advised him about the severity and the repercussions of what he'd already done and what he was potentially going to do.
Yes.
You won't recall the exact words, of course, but can you give us a sense of how you would have conveyed that to him?
It would have been explaining what an arrest means for his future, the impact on other people that he might hurt and their families, and the impact on his family should he be arrested.
Was that before or after his apparent recantation?
It was probably, what probably led to that recant.
And looking at the last line of paragraph 13 of your witness statement, you say he stated that he would not take a knife into school again.
Yes.
Have you got a clear recollection of that?
I believe so, yeah.
And I think at that point you say that you believed he did, at least to some extent, understand the seriousness of what he had done.
Yes.
Even if that didn't necessarily mean that he understood all of the repercussions.
Could you just repeat that, please?
Sorry, even if that didn't necessarily mean he understood all of the repercussions,
Yes.
he at least had some understanding of the severity of what he had done already.
Yes.
And you've talked about the immediate risk being lowered. Is that because essentially between, first of all, the police, second of all, his parents, thirdly, the school, and fourthly, any other agencies such as social services or mental health services, there was scope to address the longer term, wider issues that his conduct had raised?
Yes.
Am I right that his parents were present when he admitted to carrying a knife into school on 10 occasions?
The mum definitely was. I don't know if the dad turned up after that.
And likewise when he said he was pretty certain to use it?
Again, yeah.
Did you think that they understood the serious risk that this posed?
Yes, I think so.
They understood that risk. It wasn't, you've mentioned them also sharing AR's views about the bullying. Did they seem more concerned about the knife or about the bullying?
I think it's quite difficult to say that, especially sort of 6 years after. I don't remember them going on and on about the bullying. I remember that the conversation was more about the knife.
Thank you. We've talked already a little about knives being secured. I think you'd agree that's a short-term measure rather than addressing the wider issues.
Yes.
But by itself, just locking knives away is not a sufficient response by parents to information that their child is carrying a knife into school.
No.
Did they tell you anything about any other steps they might take?
Don't think so, no.
Do you think you should have perhaps asked them, what are you going to do about this?
Well, we knew they'd already explained to us that he's potentially getting assessed for autism, which is an underlying cause of, or potentially an underlying cause of him picking up the knife and maybe not understanding the possible repercussions. Unfortunately, they'll have to get the knives out eventually to do usual kitchen work, so it'll just be... I felt like they had the competence to stop him getting one of their kitchen knives.
I think you were at the address for just over 20 minutes in total, is that right?
That's what ARLS says, yeah.
We don't need to bring it up, but at Lanc 30231, I think there was a review of the GPS data from your radios that helped with the timings on that.
Yes.
So we can be pretty accurate about the time you were there.
Yes.
Do you think 20 minutes was long enough for an in-depth exploration of the fact that a child not previously known to the police was carrying a knife to school repeatedly with an intention to use it?
I think we got the necessary information to progress that on, yeah.
And in terms of progressing that on, when you arrived back at the police station, you contacted AR's school, the Range High School, via a web form.
That's it, yeah.
And the intent for that was to ensure that the school had information they needed as soon as possible.
Yes.
There was going to be what's known as an op encompass referral, which I think is a direct notification from police to school. But because the school was in Merseyside, not Lancashire, you had some concerns about whether that would be received in time for the next school day.
Yeah, I don't really know what the mechanism for getting an op encompass referral to an outside Lancashire school is, so I didn't know how long it'd take, so I thought I'd just do it myself.
And I think you couldn't find an email address on their website, but there was a form to contact them.
Yes.
And we've got that form at Lanc 4018, please. And you set out who you are and some basic details like the log number, and you set out what the information that had come from Childline about AR carrying a knife recently at school because of bullying, and you set out some of the steps that you've taken. He seemed remorseful, said he won't take knives to school again. Mother's on side and is hiding the kitchen knives. But you point out that they will have to take further safeguarding, ideally including searching him and speaking to him regarding this.
Yes.
What you don't mention there is any intention on his part to use the knife. Is that fair?
Yeah.
And in fact, you actually refer to him taking the knife to school to protect himself.
Yes.
Given that you agreed earlier this wasn't just misguided self-defence, but actually rather more serious than that, do you think this email perhaps slightly underplays the risk?
I think it gives AR's perception. He was taking it in to protect himself. That was what his perception was. But I accept that I could have said that we challenged him on that, and he said that he would use it.
Because of course it's not just your role to convey his perception, it's to convey your objective view of it as a police officer, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
And I think at the same time as you were sending this form, PC Wood was updating the incident log.
Yes.
Again, if we could go back to Lank 4041, page 6, please. And if we could have the entries at 2215 from 872 in the right-hand column expanded, please. Thank you. Just a little higher than that, I think. And a little more. Perhaps 2 lines more, if we could, please. Thank you. Thank you. So this really is updating the log for what you and PC Wood have done in response to being tasked to it. It covers AR admitting having a kitchen knife in his bag for the past 10 days, saying he was pretty certain he was willing to use it. I think earlier I suggested that you may have updated that, or you may have said that, in fact it was PC Wood on
Yes.
the log, but you'd accept that if he's used that there and said pretty certain, that would reflect what he was told by AR at the house.
Yes.
Covers the removal of the knife by the mother and knives in the home address being locked away. And he expresses the view that now, so he has no opportunity of getting one from the address. There is no apparent possibility of him getting any further knife from the address, nor does he have the capability of getting one outside of school. I think you would agree that that is a little overstated. Your impression was that his parents were taking this seriously, but at paragraph 50 of your witness statement, you say a determined teenager would be likely to be able to get hold of a knife if they really wanted to.
Yes.
And we know that AR ultimately purchased 2 knives, including the one used in the attack, for just under £10 online.
Yes.
Besides arresting somebody, and of course keeping in mind the criminal law around the sale of knives, are you aware of any specific police powers to prevent a teenager getting hold of a knife if they're determined to do it?
No.
Other than the discussion about locking knives in the home address away, was there any discussion with AR's parents about preventing him from obtaining knives from elsewhere?
I don't remember.
You could, for example, have discussed the possibility of him trying to obtain weapons online with
Yes.
them. Do you think that might have been a useful bit of advice to give?
Yes.
can see that PC Wood says that this log will be brought to the attention of Sierra Bravo 20 Earlies at 7 a.m. Is that the morning response sergeant?
Yes.
To make contact with Range High School. So, in other words, there's the Op and Compass referral, but you weren't sure how long that would take because it's an out-of-area school. You have sent a web form message, and then as a further means of contact with the school, once they're open, the response sergeant is being asked to contact them and convey this information as well.
Yes.
And you, I think, then filled out what's referred to here as a high-risk PVP.
Yes.
PVP,
Stands for Protecting Vulnerable Person Form. That was what it used to be called on the old system, so it's a bit out of date now.
I think, is that now a vulnerable child report in this context?
Yes.
Can we look at that form, which is at Lanc 30248? And we can see that it's you creating it. And at the bottom of that page, it sets out a summary with the now familiar information about what was received from Childline, AR taking a knife from his kitchen to school on several occasions. And if we could just go over the page, please. Sets out a note of your discussion with AR and his reaction and some of the steps that have been taken already, and also sets out some suggestion from AR's mother that he may suffer from autism. However, this is not diagnosed nor confirmed. You graded this as a high-risk referral. It might be obvious, but can you just help us with why?
The potential for harm was high.
Looking at what you said here about AR's intentions, you said he seemed, to the top paragraph on that page, he seemed honest throughout and told us that if things escalated with I'm going to call them the bully, but I think that's not implying that they were or weren't in fact engaged in that. If he's escalated with the bully, then he believes he may use the knife.
Yes.
Again, if he'd said that he was pretty certain to use it, do you think this was again slightly downplaying his intent?
The way I remember it is that he'd said if things got to a certain point with the bully, he would use the knife. So when I say may use a knife, I think I'm referring to the fact that if it got to that point, rather than him being pretty certain that he'd use it if it reached that point.
I think this report is then automatically forwarded to something known as the MASH.
Yep.
That's the Multi-Agency Safeguarding Hub.
Yes.
As a high-level outline only, they assess safeguarding referrals and pass them to appropriate agencies.
Yes.
And we'll hear more about them from others in due course. What did you expect to happen as a result of this referral going into the MASH?
I expected he'd get some sort of input from child social care.
We know that this also created an automatic Op and Compass referral. I don't think we need to look at it, sir, for your note. Lanc 30126.
Thank you.
And it also automatically creates a vulnerable child investigation within police systems.
Yes.
We've got the report for that at Lanc 4066, please. Thank you. And if we look at the third line down in there, primary offence, vulnerable child.
Yes.
What's the scope and purpose of this vulnerable child investigation?
it makes other agencies as well as the police aware of vulnerability in the with that child.
So it's the sharing out to the MASH that makes other agencies aware.
Yes.
This is an internal police log, isn't it?
Yes.
What are the police then going to do with this as a vulnerable child investigation once it's been created?
It depends what happens afterwards. Often they get closed once they've been dealt with by MASH, but other times they can be updated with what happens afterwards.
Who's responsible for taking it forward once it's been opened?
Well, it goes back to the officer who created it after it's been sort of given out to social services and whomever else, and then it's up to them to close it if it needs closing. Or
And I think we can see that you are down as the OIC, the officer in the case.
Yes.
On this particular referral, this particular report. Just below your name, it says investigation type non-crime.
Yes.
So this isn't a criminal investigation.
No.
He'd admitted to having a knife in school on multiple occasions. You decided not to arrest him, but why wasn't this being treated as a criminal offence?
Because the school was in Merseyside, it would be recorded by Merseyside police. So that's why it's not been crimed initially on Lancashire police systems.
So it's simply the geography of the school having happened to be across a police force boundary is why this wasn't created as or alongside a crime report.
Yeah. What I could have done is crimed it or reported the crime on us so it'd come up as an included offence or a primary offence as the possession of the knife and then transferred it to Merseyside.
Okay, we'll come back to that, PC McNamee. I think as well as generating a investigation report, does the safeguarding referral, the PVP form, also generate a risk assessment?
Yes.
Is that something that's shared with the MASH?
Yes.
Can we look at that at Lanc 4067? And if we could go to the next page, please. And one further on, I think. So we can see there you set out the same details, and again, presumably because it's automatically created, it is simply being filled from what you had put in on the original referral.
Yes.
And if we would then go to the risk assessment, which is on the next page, we can see, have you filled out this box?
Yes.
Reason for starting and so on. Do you think the assessment of risk here is focused on AR or on others?
I think it's AR.
It doesn't, for example, identify AR's intended victim
No.
and think about the risk that AR might pose to them.
No.
And it repeats the point about AR, he believes he may use the knife in a bullying situation, which we've covered from the other, from the email to the range. Rather than suggesting, actually he says he's pretty certain that if pushed, he would use it to kill a specific person.
Yeah.
Do you think this covers off all of the risks?
I think it covers the risk that I wanted to convey, yeah.
You talk in that risk assessment about a need for intervention around carrying knives. What form did you expect that to take?
It can take a lot of forms. It can be through the school itself, social services. The knife carrying was, I thought, a symptom of other things going on in his life, whether it's the bullying or the suspected ASD. So I think when those things were sort of challenged as well.
Might the police have a role in an intervention around carrying knives?
Yeah, definitely.
If we can go back a page, please. If we can look at the bottom below the dotted line of that, and have that enlarged, thank you. This, I think, is an update to the report. So this wasn't text entered by you.
No.
This is the, as it says, information added by MASH.
Yes.
And so it shows that there have been checks with CSC, Children's Social Care. AR is not known to CSC, been referred to them, been the victim of bullying at school, resorted to taking a knife into school, as the matter's not been resolved. His actions place both himself and other at risk of harm. And then it sets out shared with children's social care, education and health. Would that information come back to you after it's been added by the MASH?
Do you mean just that update at the bottom?
Yes.
Yes. Once I got the investigation back on my workload, I'd be able to see that.
Yes, because I think, although you submitted this on the 7th of October, am I right that once you submit it, it then essentially is returned to you at a later date?
Yes.
And in this case, as a result of difficulties with the Connect system, it didn't come back to you until the 22nd of November, is that right?
It is.
Connect, I think, was a relatively new system at the time. Was this quite a common issue with reports you were submitting around this time?
Yes.
Is it an issue that is still a problem today?
No, it's resolved.
What was the impact of that 6-week delay in getting the investigation back on how you handled this investigation?
It was more difficult to update it. If I did get any updates, I'd sort of have to go into the systems to look for it. Yeah.
Just to close off the contact with the school, I think the web form contact was successful and got acknowledged the same night. Lank 4055, just briefly. So, in fact, early the next morning. And then, equally, the plan for the early turn sergeant to make contact was also successful. They also managed to speak to the school and got an update from them.
Yes.
You can see on the incident log. I think as a result of your contact with the school, later that day, the 8th of October, the Force Control Room put you in touch with David Cregeen, the designated safeguarding lead for the Range High School.
Yes.
We don't need to call it up, but Lank 30143, sir, is the Force Control Room putting PC McNamee in contact. Could we go back? I'm so sorry, I think we've just taken it down. Lank 4041, page 6. Because we can see the Force Control Room put an update on the log based on their contact, initial contact with Mr. Cregeen.
Yes.
It's on page 6. And it's at the bottom of the page, starting at 1437. Call from the school, contacted social services, more information for the officers to be made aware of. When they spoke to AR this morning, he was searched. He didn't have, if you go to the next page, anything on him, but he admitted to bringing it, in context, it must be the knife,
Yes.
in before. They asked him what he would do with it, and then he said he would use it to stab someone. He's also been in detention, has made reference to teachers getting murdered. Informant is concerned that the two incidents are related. So social services, have said that the incident has been stepped down to L2, which is learning support, and the incident regarding the teacher should be referred back to the police. And then it sets out that there's been contact from you. Would you have known what steps down to L2, which is learning support, meant?
I'm not sure at the time, no.
Did you get any sense as to whether social services were taking this referral seriously from that?
I don't remember thinking anything about it, I'm sorry.
There's another new piece of information there about AR being in detention and making reference to teachers getting murdered. That is something that elevates the level of risk?
I think that was the week before we discovered about the knives.
There came a point then when, in fact, as well as this being put onto the log, you spoke to Mr. Cregeen via the telephone.
Yeah, I rang him when I got his email, I think.
What did he tell you? Was it the same as the information that we've just seen on the log?
Yeah, it was. I think he explained that he'd had this pretty much the same conversation we'd had the night before with AR.
What do you mean by the same conversation?
So he'd confronted him about the alleged knife carrying. AR had said that he felt like he might or he would use it. Yeah.
Did it seem as though, having somewhat recanted the night before, to some degree AR was going back on that?
I don't think I was expecting AR to go into school sort of teary and apologising, but I would have expected a level of contrition that didn't seem to be there from when I spoke to Mr. Cregeen.
There's some evidence, and again, sir, for your note, MERP 001413, that AR had attacked a fellow student in class on the 6th or perhaps the 7th of October, a student who was said to have been bullying AR, and AR had been sent home as a result. Do you recall being made aware of that at all?
No.
Would that have been a significant thing for you to have been made aware of in the context of what?
Yeah, I updated the investigation with the conversation I had with Mr. Cregeen, and it wasn't in that.
One thing that you have said is you think it may have been in this call that you advised Mr. Cregeen to report what had happened to Merseyside Police.
Yes.
I think you don't mention giving that advice on the log, is that fair?
Yeah, that's fair.
But you're sure that at some point you did give that advice?
Yes.
You're just not sure whether it was this call in which you did so?
Yeah, that's right.
As you say, you updated it on the log, the investigation log, so Lank 4066. And page 2. And it's the entry at the bottom of the page. Spoke with David Cregeen. If that could be made bigger, please. Thank you. So as you say at the end of that, the comment about this is why teachers get murdered, in context, this is additionally concerning.
Yeah.
Did he say anything with you about what social services response to this had been?
I can't remember.
I think you've now identified, although may not have known at the time, that updating this investigation report does not automatically reshare the update with the MASH.
Yeah.
At the time, did you think that it did?
I can't remember. It's possible I did, yeah.
Did you know that there had been direct contact between the school and social services, though?
I'm not sure if I knew at the time. I don't know.
I think we may well hear from Mr. Cregeen in due course that he did pass his concerns directly to the MASH after speaking with you on this occasion, and suggest that this should be managed at what's known as level 4 rather than level 2. But for your part, in terms of the police response, did this extra information from Mr. Cregeen prompt you to reconsider how to deal with AR at all?
I think we were satisfied with with the action we'd taken at that stage.
I mean, we now have an occasion when AR was talking in the recent past expressly about murder in essentially positive terms.
Yeah.
And that's combined with his admitted carriage of a knife on multiple occasions, and with what he's said about being pretty certain to use it if pushed to a certain point. Putting to one side what you may or may not have known about how social services were dealing with it, did this not merit reconsideration of going down the criminal justice route?
I don't think so. Like I've written there, the schools felt that it was an off-the-cuff, spontaneous response to getting a detention. I don't believe that they'd made Merseyside Police aware at the time.
In terms of how other agencies were going to deal with it, is it fair to say that, aside from this direct contact with Mr. Cregeen, you were essentially dependent on what Lancashire Constabulary's contribution to the MASH did with in terms of engaging other agencies?
Yes.
You didn't have a direct route in to social services or mental health services?
No.
So I'm making good progress. I'm about to move to another topic. I wonder if we could take a short break.
How long, Mr. Goss?
5 minutes, sir?
Certainly. Well, we'll make it slightly longer. I'll sit again at 22.
Thanks. Thank you, sir. Could we have Lanc 4069 up, please? We're moving forward now to the 28th of October, PC McNamee. And I think you received an email, and as ever with emails, we have to start at the back. So if we could go to the last page of that, please. One penultimate page, that one doesn't take us very far. Thank you. You got an email from AR's father.
Yes.
And am I summarising it fairly if I say that you were told that there was going to be a decision about AR's permanent exclusion from school, and AR's father was asking for you to come and essentially speak on AR's behalf?
That's right, yeah.
If we look at the first page of that document, we have your response. You refused, perhaps unsurprisingly.
Yeah.
You noted that AR had admitted to committing a criminal offence multiple times, carrying a knife at school.
Yeah.
When talking to him, he said several times to us that he would have used it on the male in question due to bullying. This is completely unacceptable. And you said in the end of the next paragraph, though he admitted to doing it, he did not seem to fully understand the possible repercussions, nor show any remorse.
Yeah.
When you left the house on the 7th of October, you've told us that you did think he seemed to understand the seriousness, at least to some degree, of what he had done. Is it fair to say that your position by this point in time has hardened somewhat?
Yes.
Why is that?
As I said before, it's probably as a result of conversations with Mr. Cregeen about his subsequent conversations with AR. where he's again not showed any contrition when he's spoken to the school staff.
And also on another occasion talked about teachers getting murdered.
Yeah.
You've also got in the email from AR's father a frankly almost justification for what AR had been doing, haven't you?
Yeah.
It doesn't look like AR's father is taking this as seriously as you'd perhaps hoped he would have done on the 7th of October.
Yeah, that's fair.
Did that also contribute to this hardening of your position about actually how serious this is?
Certainly, yeah.
Given that your view as to how serious this was had toughened, hardened, did you take any steps to share that with other agencies back through the MASH, for example?
I don't think I shared anything from that email, no.
You didn't share anything from the email? Did you share the email chain itself?
Don't believe so, no.
When you combine that your view now is that actually this might be a little bit more serious. He doesn't seem to understand the repercussions. I had thought he did. And he's not getting the parental support to challenge this that I'd hoped he was getting. And then also with the fact that you perhaps understated slightly the risk on the safeguarding referral, talking about he believes he may use it. Do you think that might have meant, in combination, that other agencies didn't realise or didn't have a full picture of quite how serious this was?
I'm not sure. I don't know.
You didn't attend the meeting.
No.
AR was permanently excluded.
Yeah.
And I think you came to know about that at some point. We know the meeting was on the 5th of November. You came to know about it at some point before the 24th of November, but you can't help us with how that happened.
No.
It might have been a phone call from Mr. Cregeen. It might have been an email that no longer survives, something like that.
Yes.
And I think you updated the investigation log, Lank 4066, page 3. We can see in the bottom box in the top table, 7:15 a.m. on the 24th of November, you say AR has been permanently expelled from school.
Yeah.
And I think you then request that this log be closed.
Yeah, the investigation, yeah.
The investigation be closed. Why was that the point where you said, OK, this can now be closed?
Felt like there'd been appropriate and proportionate action taken. He'd been expelled from school. I was aware that he'd been put into a sort of more appropriate school and setting. And I believe that he was getting more input from CSC.
What was the basis for that belief that he was getting more input from CSC?
Again, I think that was from speaking with perhaps Mr. Cregeen.
Closing the police log doesn't stop the work of other agencies, does it?
No.
The request for closure was refused, wasn't it?
Yes.
And it was refused by a sergeant who wanted to know if this matter had been reported to Merseyside Police because of its location, as you've told us, and said that their log numbers were needed before the log could be closed.
Yes.
Can I just explore with you why it was important that those log numbers were obtained? Firstly, you've told us that because of the location, it would be for Merseyside Police to carry out any criminal investigation.
Yeah.
So it ensures that there has been a criminal investigation to whatever degree is necessary by the police force that has responsibility for doing so.
Yeah.
It ensures that the fact that a criminal offence has been committed is properly recorded.
Yeah.
and it means that a police force that may well come into contact with AR in future, particularly given where he lives, right on the border, has information about his conduct and behaviour that would help them in any future dealings.
Yeah.
So it's an important thing to take place, isn't it?
Yes.
Is there a frequent issue of cross-border offending, if I can put it that way? Individuals based in Lancashire but offending in Merseyside or vice versa?
Yes.
Is that split responsibility something that causes issues for the two forces in your experience?
It can do. I think in this case it would have been fairly simple though, to be honest.
Are there systems or arrangements in place for managing cases like that, where you have people crossing between police areas to offend?
Yeah, my understanding is it'll be recorded wherever it's reported. So in this case, Lancs, and then it'd be transferred to whichever force it was.
And I think you contacted Merseyside to ask if the school had made a direct report to them.
Yeah.
Can we look at Lanc 4070, please? Your email at the bottom. Can I pick up, first of all, the penultimate paragraph of your email? You say there, I asked the school to notify you. Does that help us at all with your recollection that at some point you had told Mr. Cregeen he should report directly to Merseyside?
Yes.
You wouldn't have said that in that email if you hadn't
No.
previously asked them to do it?
No.
But the next paragraph is clear that you aren't reporting this yourself, are you? You're asking if they have reported it.
Yeah.
Why did you think it was for the school to report this to Merseyside Police themselves?
I felt they were better placed because they had the details of the other pupil that was involved, and they also had any disciplinary issues that AR had had. So rather than it being conveyed third party through me, it'd be better to go straight from them.
I mean, you had the information from Childline.
Yeah.
You had the first account from AR where he admitted carrying the knife. You certainly had sufficient to report this to Merseyside yourself, didn't you?
Yes.
And it wouldn't have been difficult for you to do so. You set out in your witness statement two possibilities. One would be to create a crime report on Lancashire systems and then have it transferred to Merseyside. Would that be quite a routine thing to do?
It'd be via email, yeah.
Or you could have sent them the incident log and asked Merseyside, said, could you open a crime report into this and take this one on? We think it's for you because of where it took place.
That's what I should have done. I should have attached the investigation bundle to that email.
I think you candidly accept that that's something that should have happened.
Yeah.
Can you help us at all, from your experience, with what the likely outcome might have been if that had happened?
I can't really speak for Merseyside. It might be that they would have accepted sort of the outcome that we'd already had, which is that he'd been expelled from school, put in a better place and appropriate safeguarding had been put in place, or they could have pursued a criminal investigation. I don't know.
I think we'll probably look to explore with others how that might have unfolded, who might be better placed than you. I mean, no disrespect in that at all. Just to finish off this point, though, about the range making a referral to Merseyside, you think you spoke to Mr. Cregeen again, I think, on the 5th of December, jumping forward again a little bit.
So that's based on the pocket notebook entry on the age, yeah?
Yeah. So you made a pocket notebook entry on the 5th of December with Mr. Cregeen's contact details, essentially?
Yes.
Sir, that's at Lanc 4050, but we don't need to look it up. Thank you. You don't have any recollection of a call with him on that date?
A very vague one, yeah, but
You can't help us with what the content of that call might have been?
no.
Whatever he said, though, it doesn't seem to have prompted you to come back to this and go, oh, they said they're not going to report it, I ought to.
No.
And ultimately, this never was reported formally to Merseyside to open a criminal investigation, was it? And despite the sergeant's direction on the 24th of November, ultimately the log was closed on the 9th of December without any Merpol reference numbers being added.
Yes.
It doesn't look like it was you who made the request for it to be closed the second time. But in the round, do you think it really should have been kept open until Merpol confirmed how they were going to deal with this offence that had been committed in their area?
Yeah, definitely.
Can I turn then to events in early December 2019, when you got contacted by Joanne Hodson of the Acorns School. And Acorns was the more appropriate schooling that you mentioned a few moments ago, which AR had moved to after he'd been expelled from the range.
Yes.
Was it a school you were familiar with?
I was aware of it. I don't think I'd had any dealings with it prior.
Can we look at Lank 4058? So we're at paragraph 32 in the witness statement.
Thank you.
And again, if we could go towards the back of that, it's an email. Thank you. No, penultimate page, thank you. Again, summarising, Mrs. Hodson is setting out to you her concerns over the past few weeks about AR's behaviour.
Yeah.
15th of November, researching school shootings in America on the internet. 29th of November, refusing to sit down, punching his hand hard, working on something about promoting businesses. And he insisted that telling people his business was new to the area would not be good because people would think he would kill them as they did not know him. He said people don't trust others they don't know in case they get murdered. Regularly out of his seat, walked to the highest part of the ceiling, jumped up and punched a laminate hanging from it very hard. So both concerning things he was saying, but also aggressive behaviour that he was displaying. And then 3rd of December, working with oil pastels, colouring in Call of Duty images. It's the combat video game. AR commented saying, why can we have these with guns but can't look at guns on the internet? And then said, can we have a picture of a severed head then? And he tried to mention the topic again after it was shut down. Really concerning new information that you're receiving from the school.
Yeah.
If we could just look at the addressees for that email, I think fair to point out that Lucy Parkinson was a support worker from Lancashire County Council who'd been allocated to work with AR. Were you aware of that and that was who she was?
I don't think I was at the time.
All right. But you reply, and if we could look at that reply, please. First page, thank you. I think you reply on Lank 4059. And next page, please. And next one. Thank you. So you try and make contact. As you say, AR's behaviour certainly seems quite concerning. And you set out what you did when you dealt with him, referred to the relevant services. Once that happens, I can only see that he has been referred to social services. I unfortunately don't have any further information about what intervention he has had. I assume that with regard to the instance you have outlined, that the relevant referrals have been made. And I think we briefly saw from the last email that we put up, you also spoke at some point to Mrs. Hodson on the telephone and gave what might be characterised as sort of immediate safety advice, namely search and wand AR, make sure he isn't carrying any weapons, and call 999 if concerned for safety.
Yes.
And if we could look at the first page of that email, please. Mrs. Hodson then sets out, she identifies who Ms. Parkinson is, and that there's early help in place. That's the level 2 that we looked at earlier. She sets out the difficulties they're having with CAMS referrals, that's Child and Adolescent Mental Health Services. Is that a matter that you, as a response officer in the police, or indeed the police generally, have any influence over?
No.
She sets out the possibility of some input from what she calls Project 2000, some parenting interventions starting in January. And she says, is there anything else we should be doing? I'm really worried that with a West Lancs address and a Sefton GP, he is going to fall between the cracks. We are concerned there is potential for a serious incident if we can't access the right support. And she is reaching out, therefore, to a number of different agencies, including you, to try and get assistance with AR. Is that fair?
Yeah.
We've talked about the call back that you gave her. You gave immediate safety advice. Do you think there was any other role for the police at this stage?
I don't believe no, so no.
Is that for the police in the sense of you as a response officer, or for the police more generally?
So the 3 incidents she had outlined were concerning, each in their own right, but none of them were criminal. And if we were to do a referral, it would go to the exact same place that it would if the school made a referral for support. So there wasn't a requirement for us to do anything there. And then with regards to the potential falling through the cracks at CAMS, as far as I'm aware, there's no way for the police to sort of influence that kind of decision.
In effect, the lever you have to pull is a MASH referral.
Could you just repeat that?
The lever that you have to pull is a MASH referral,
Yeah.
But she is already trying to access the services that would lead to.
Yes.
And you gave advice about dealing with the imminent risk, which is what's within your expertise as a response officer.
Yes.
When you deal with this in your statement, you talk about it being for social services or the school to have primacy on that. Just give me one moment so I'll find the paragraph. Paragraph 69.
That's very helpful. Thank you very much.
You say, I was aware from Joanne's email dated 4th of December that AR had an early help worker called Lucy Parkinson who was aware of these incidents. It was my opinion that she or the school would take primacy with regards to the incidents at Acorns.
Yes.
Did you convey that view to Ms. Hodson to say, look, this is, I can give you the advice I can give you, but this is for you and for social services to deal with?
I think I hinted at it in the email. I don't know if I said it more forcefully on the phone call.
The investigation log at this point is still open. Did you update it with this new information from Acorns?
No.
Ought there to have been an update?
I'm not sure what function that would sort of fulfill. even if it was sent back to the MASH, it would be the same information that had already been conveyed by the school.
It would mean that the next time somebody came into contact with AR from the police and looked at that investigation log, they knew about the concerns that the school had raised, wouldn't it?
Yeah, potentially.
Because otherwise they're in your emails, but they're not part of the corporate knowledge of the police.
Yeah, I understand that.
So, again, do you think there should have been an update of this further information about a still open vulnerable child log?
There certainly could have been, yeah.
We know that you think you spoke to Mr. Cregeen on the 5th of December. We covered your recollection of that and the fact you don't really recall what that was about.
Yeah.
Might that have been prompted by the conversation you had with Miss Hodson via email and telephone?
I think it's more likely been prompted by the request to get the crime number from Merseyside. I don't see why I'd ring Mr. Cregeen for an issue at Acorns.
If it was prompted by the request to get the crime number from Merseyside, isn't it a bit surprising that there were then no further steps taken about referring things to Merseyside?
Yeah.
Again, would it have been helpful for whatever the content of that conversation was for it to have been updated on the log?
Yeah, definitely.
Is there any reason that you didn't put these things onto the log?
I can't remember. The issue with being a response officer is that I might have made these phone calls when I was going to an incident on hands-free or something like that. I don't know. It should have been noted down. I'll accept that.
I think after the 5th of December, which was the telephone call with Mr. Cregeen, potentially, you didn't have any further direct dealings with AR's case?
No.
You weren't contacted by anyone from Lancashire Constabulary's early action or community safety team? And there came a point when you were, but in and around 5th, 6th, 7th of December, no contact?
I don't think. I've got a very vague recollection of being in their office, but it could have been about somebody else. I don't know.
That was a team you knew about then?
Yeah.
Did you think they might have a role in dealing with AR?
Yeah.
Did you put a referral into them at all?
Don't think so, no.
Could and should you have done?
I could have done, yeah.
And should you have done?
I probably would now, yeah.
I don't think you ever had any direct contact from Lancashire County Council's early help team?
No.
What you did get, and it's at Lanc 30194, is an email from Sergeant Bramall of the early action team on the 17th of December. And just for context, this is now some 6 days after the incident where AR had attended the range with a knife in his backpack and with a hockey stick, and he had used that hockey stick to assault another pupil there. And he was arrested by Merseyside police for that. And as a result of that, there was a multi-agency meeting on the 17th of December, which Sergeant Bramall, along with many other agencies, attended, and we'll hear more about that meeting next week. But this is really by way of an update to you after that meeting, isn't it?
Yeah.
So on another matter, I went to a multi-agency meeting this morning where you'd attended an address and recognised some serious concerns for a young man, AR, in Banks. You did exactly the right thing by inputting a PVP on Connect. It was then shared with other agencies. AR has since gone to his old school in Southport and committed a serious offence. Due to your timely PVP, the finger of blame will not be pointed in your direction. In other words, the very thing that you had been concerned about maybe happening in October had in fact occurred just over 2 months later.
Yeah.
Whatever interventions might have been arranged as a result of your referral, and you'd had some insight from Ms. Hodson that things may not have been going smoothly, they hadn't been able to control the risk posed by AR, had they?
Not fully, no.
Was that a concern to you?
Yeah.
Did you do anything about that concern?
No, I don't think there was anything for me to do after that had happened.
Sergeant Bramall says that the finger of blame will not be pointed in your direction due to your timely PVP. Would you ordinarily expect the question of blame to be one that was circulating in a case like this?
It was a surprising email. I suppose if somebody says the finger of blame will not be pointed in your direction, it kind of gives the impression that it might have been at some point. But I don't think, I don't know.
Did you know PS Bramall well?
No, not particularly.
The interventions that you'd hoped would be in place after your MASH referral hadn't been effective. Thinking about other possible interventions, would one have been a prevent referral?
No.
Why not?
Prevents for suspected terror or extremist thinking, and there was no indication of that at all.
What sort of training had you received on prevent?
I believe there's a prevent input in the initial training.
By its nature, it's trying to prevent someone from becoming involved in terror-related activities. It's looking at vulnerability to being drawn into them rather than have they committed them. Is that your understanding of it?
Yeah.
You didn't think you had a basis for a prevent referral as at 7th of October. Is that because taking a knife to school, allegedly in response to bullying, it's serious and it's dangerous, but it's not extremist, it's not terror-related, and it doesn't, of itself, suggest a vulnerability to being drawn into those things?
Exactly right, yeah.
Do you think the further information you received from the Acorns might have caused you to reconsider, actually, perhaps there is a vulnerability to being drawn into extremism, terror-related incidents here?
No, I don't think so.
We know that Acorns did in fact make a prevent referral on the 5th of December and counter-terrorism police subsequently had contact with the early action team. Do you think with your direct experience of AR on the 7th of October, you might have been able to provide those assessing that referral with additional and helpful information and context about him?
In addition to what I'd written on the report, you mean?
Yes.
I don't think much was missed from that report, no.
You might have been able to provide them with a better understanding of how certain he was to use the knife.
Yeah, perhaps.
I mean, one point that you'd been told about by Ms. Hodson was that he'd been using the internet to research school shootings.
Yeah.
Was that not something that might be characteristic of vulnerability to being drawn into the kind of things Prevent is there to deal with?
I don't think so, no.
Why not?
There's potentially legitimate reasons to look up albeit it's concerning for a 13-year-old, and ideally he wouldn't be looking at it. I don't think it would reach the threshold to be looking at. It's a bit of a jump to suspect that he's then looking at terrorist or extremist-related content.
Even if it's something that by itself there might be a reason for, in the wider context of carrying a knife, talking about why can't we look at guns on the internet, talking about beheadings, is that not enough to think, actually, we need to take some sort of step here? Maybe I should explore a prevent referral?
I didn't think that, no.
Speak to a supervisor about how this case could be handled and the risk could be managed?
Potentially, yeah.
One thing that you say at paragraph 74 of your statement is that it often feels as though other agencies think the police can have more influence in certain areas than we can. Can you expand on that a bit?
I think that was in relation to Miss Hodson saying about falling through the cracks relating to CAMS. I feel like that was specifically what she was asking for help with from myself. As far as I'm aware, there's no way for me to influence the allocation of mental health or health resources.
Are you, as a response officer, best placed to try to deal with longer term issues?
No.
And from that perspective as a response officer, for each of the periods where you were involved with AR, who did you understand was the lead agency for assessing and addressing the risk that he posed to others? So first of all, on the night of the 7th of October?
I felt the schools were best placed to intervene.
And then after you've made the MASH referral?
Given that he was then moved to a SEN school, I still think that the school was best placed.
And after Ms Hodson contacted you on the 3rd of December, who did you think was best placed to assess? Who was the lead agency?
I'd still think the school.
Still think the school. And within the police, again from your perspective as a response officer, was there anyone responsible for assessing and addressing that risk?
Not that I'm aware above me, no.
Is there anything else you would like to add, PC McNamee, to what you've told the Chair already this afternoon?
No.
I'll just turn to my left and see if there's anything from others. No. Sir, do you have anything?
It's been a long afternoon for you, Mr. McNamee. Thank you very much for your assistance and your evidence this afternoon. You're now free to go.
Thank you, sir.
So I note the time. We do have a presentation on the remainder of the evidence of the purchase of weapons, but with your permission, we might postpone that till Monday morning.
As long as that's convenient, Mr. Moss.
Entirely. And so on Monday, we'll have that presentation, and then the witnesses, Sergeant Bramall, DC Murphy, and PC Fairclough. And we will start, again, so with your permission, at 11 as usual on Monday, if we may.
Thank you very much. Then I'll rise and sit again at 11 o'clock on Monday.